I had wings once, they were stolen from me. That's all I wish to say about it.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 Disney villains with the saddest backstories.
My nemesis is my real mother.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most tragic and sympathetic origins behind this studio's antagonists. We won't be talking about any Pixar villains because they deserve a list of their own. Since we are talking about backstories, beware of spoilers ahead. Which Disney villain gets too much hate? Let us know in the comments below. Number 20. Tess Tyler, Camp Rock.
Oh, hi. I'm Tess Tyler. I know. Wow, I love your mom. Of course you do.
On the surface, Tess seems like your stereotypical mean girl/diva. While she's attending a musical camp, she does whatever she can do to keep the spotlight firmly planted on her. Her willingness to sabotage others and push aside her friends actually does come from a sad place. Since the teenage Tess grew up with a famous mom, the kid was constantly in her mother's shadow. The diva hoped she could get more attention by climbing to the top of Camp Rock. Unfortunately, Tess stumbles after she sees her mom take a phone call during a big performance. After seeing her cry backstage after the slip-up, we start feeling sorry for the diva. Number 19. Zoe, aka the Boogie Person. Don't look under the bed. Once upon a time, a real girl named Frances dreamed up an imaginary friend named Zoe. The two were close until the child's brother got sick. Since Frances believed she needed to behave more like an adult to support her sibling, she got rid of her imaginary friend. This abrupt act of abandonment caused Zoe to mutate into a sinister boogie person. It's tragic that she had no choice but to become evil after being forgotten by her closest friend. And to make matters worse, Zoe had to go through the trauma of being forcefully aged while she was in boogie person form.
I'm getting old.
I'm getting so old. I've even forgotten how to rhyme anymore. Oh, please, Franny.
Fortunately, Frances is able to find out the truth and to bring her old friend back into the light before it was too late.
I had to stop believing in what wasn't real.
And you started to turn into a boogeyman.
Boogie person. I'm so sorry I stopped believing in you, Zoe.
Number 18. Mother Gothel, Tangled. After Gothel reached an advanced age, she found a flower that could restore her youth.
You see, instead of sharing the sun's gift, this woman, Mother Gothel, hoarded its healing power and used it to keep herself young for hundreds of years.
She was able to repeat the process for hundreds of years to cheat death. However, everything changed when a local king's soldiers took the flower and turned it into tea to save their pregnant queen. Imagine if the only thing keeping you alive was taken to help someone you never met. Wouldn't you be a little upset too? Admittedly, we can't excuse Gothel's choice to imprison Rapunzel because the kid inherited the flower's powers. But when we look at things from the antagonist's perspective, we understand why she was so desperate to keep the secret to her eternal life hidden.
What have you done? What have you done?
Number 17. Yzma, the Emperor's New Groove. Although Yzma is seen as a silly villain that makes us laugh, fans of the movie can sometimes forget about her serious fall from grace. She spent numerous years working in the palace and guiding the selfish and arrogant Emperor Kuzco. When he wasn't paying attention, Yzma admittedly overstepped a little and tried to address the problems of his subjects on her own. After catching her in the act, Kuzco immediately fires her without giving her another chance.
But Your Highness, I have been nothing if not loyal to the Empire for many, many years.
Hey, everybody hits their stride. You just hit yours 50 years ago.
Even Yzma didn't deserve to be kicked out of her royal position so abruptly. It's no wonder that she became obsessed with trying to regain some semblance of the power she used to have.
How could he do this to me? Why, I practically raised him.
Yeah, you think he would have turned out better.
Yeah, go figure.
Number 16. Edgar Balthazar, the Aristocats. Edgar served as Madame Adelaide's butler for years before he overheard that she intended to give her vast fortune to her cats upon her death.
I simply wish to have the cats inherit first.
Although she does mention that Edgar would inherit the money after the felines passed, why does he have to wait at all? Wouldn't it make more sense to give him the money on the condition that he takes care of the cats? And if the felines had kittens, do they technically inherit the money before the butler? No matter how the situation would have played out, Edgar was stuck in a potentially lose-lose situation. He probably would have left the cats alone had he been first in line for even a fraction of the inheritance.
You are going to Timbuktu if it's the last thing I do.
Number 15. Captain James Hook, Peter Pan. If you look closely at this pirate's life, you'll see that he's trapped in a seemingly unending nightmare. At some point in his life, Peter Pan removed his hand. The boy then made sure Hook's limb became crocodile food. Since the animal also swallowed a clock, the pirate became scared of innocent tick-tocking sounds as well.
Smee! Save me, Smee, please! Don't let him get me, Smee, please! Don't let him get me, Smee, Smee!
Here now, shame on you, upsetting the poor captain.
Hook's quest for revenge might still seem over the top until you remember where all of this took place. The animals and residents of Neverland tend to stay the same age for much longer than normal. Theoretically, a kid may have sentenced Hook to an eternity spent running from an immortal crocodile. That terrible fate is more than enough motivation for the pirate to become truly evil. Number 14. The Sanderson Sisters, Hocus Pocus 2.
A rotten apple quickly infects its neighbor, and we want no more like thee.
Fans who only saw the first Hocus Pocus might think that the Sanderson sisters were irredeemable. However, the trio was given a heartbreaking story in the sequel. After the young Winifred Sanderson lost her dad, a reverend told her that she had to marry a boy she didn't love. She was then publicly shamed by the local townspeople for not being obedient. Upon refusing to marry a second time, the reverend banished her from town and tried to take her sisters away from her.
Stop! No, and not take my sisters! No! Let it be! Unhand me now!
The desperate trio ended up studying dark magic to protect themselves and stay together. Even after committing tons of evil acts, Winifred still gave up ultimate power in the end so she would never be apart from her siblings.
Please, wilt thou help me?
Wait, you're willing to give up your powers?
My powers are nothing without my sisters!
Number 13. Davy Jones, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Before the events of the main films, Davy Jones fell in love with the powerful and magical Calypso. He was even willing to transport souls to the underworld for his great love. Although they promised to meet up again after 10 years, Calypso chose not to see him.
And finally, when we could be together again, you weren't there. Why weren't you there?
The scorned Jones got revenge by trapping his love in a human body. However, his twisted actions didn't bring him peace. Unable to die or move on, Jones removed his own heart and quit his job to try and be free of his pain. But he only ended up turning into a horrifying and bitter monster. While Jones definitely lost touch with humanity, our hearts broke alongside his when he came face to face with Calypso again.
And what of your fate, David Jones?
My heart will always belong to you.
Number 12. Namari, Raya and the Last Dragon.
Thank you, Debla. You've been very helpful. In a different world, maybe we could have been friends, but I have to do what's right for Fang.
At a young age, Princess Namari of the Fang tribe tricked Raya into revealing where the legendary dragon gem was. The antagonist wanted the magical item to help keep her people safe. Unfortunately, Namari set off a chain of events that resulted in evil beings known as Droon, turning nearly everyone in the world into stone. The princess tried to fix her mistake by trying to unite the dragon gem herself years later. However, Namari once again made a misstep that led to her mother being turned to stone. There's no denying that the princess made pretty big mistakes in the movie, But since Namaari always had good intentions, she was definitely a tragic villain.
I never meant for any of this to happen. Liar! I don't care if you believe me. Sisu did.
Number 11. Estella Miller, aka Cruella de Vil. Cruella. When Estella was a child, she was tormented because of her unique hair and tough personality. She also saw her mother die in front of her eyes.
It was my fault. Police Commissioner Weston, a woman. She was threatening me, demanding money. I had killed my mother.
After spending years stealing to stay afloat, she got a legitimate job at a fashion company that was led by the abrasive Baroness. Over time, Estella realizes that her new boss was behind her mom's death. That revelation would have been bad enough on its own. However, Estella later learns that the Baroness is actually her birth mother too.
My nemesis is my real mother. And she killed my other mother.
A life of tragedy nearly turned a woman with a natural gift for fashion into a cruel antagonist. Fortunately, the 2021 version of the story hints that Estella will end up as more of an anti-hero and less of a villain.
She was with her mother now. I'll take it from here.
But Cruella was alive.
All right, we should put on some music or something. Lighten the mood.
Number 10. Hades, Hercules. There's a good reason Hades is so bitter all the time. When the gods were deciding what they were going to rule over, he was assigned to the underworld. Hades had to spend an unknown amount of time surrounded by pained and depressed souls with little sunlight.
How are things in the underworld? Well, they're just fine. You know, a little dark, a little gloomy, and as always, hey, full of dead people. What are you gonna do?
And based on how his siblings treated him at a party for Hercules, he isn't really welcomed when he's able to visit the surface.
You know, I haven't been this choked up since I got a hunk of moussaka caught in my throat. Huh? So is this an audience or a mosaic?
After spending countless years being mistreated by his family and working full-time at a job he resented without reprieve, Hades became desperate to upset the status quo.
I'm the one giving orders now, Bolt Boy, and I think I'm gonna like it here.
All he truly wanted was to escape the fate that had been forced on him. Number 9. Ursula, the Little Mermaid. Ursula is infamously known as a sea witch who punishes those who can't live up to her magical contracts.
Yes, I've had the odd complaint, but on the whole, I've been a saint. To those poor unfortunate souls.
Before she spent most of her time making deals in an isolated den, she lived among the other merfolk in the palace. The reasons why she was exiled have varied over the years.
I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch.
In the book Poor Unfortunate Soul, A Tale of the Sea Witch, she lived in the kingdom after escaping violent villagers, but was later banished because of her tentacular appearance. While we don't know if this was why Ursula was exiled in the film, being sent away clearly had a negative effect on her mind.
And now look at me, wasted away to practically nothing. Banished and exiled and practically starving, while he and his flimsy fish folks celebrate.
She might have actually helped others with her magic if Triton had given her a second chance. Number 8. Qianyang, Mulan. While Qianyang was growing up, she discovered that she had special abilities. Unfortunately, no one was willing to accept her into their homes or societies.
The more power I showed, the more I was crushed.
She allied with the vicious conqueror Bori Khan in the hopes that she could find respect and a sense of belonging.
Remember what you want. A place where your powers will not be vilified. A place where you are accepted for who you are.
They were victorious in many battles together, but despite her contributions to Bori Khan's conquests, he still saw her as an outcast and a witch.
Not witch. Warrior.
She, ironically, had the best connection with Mulan, who was supposed to be her enemy. Knowing Qianyang could only truly identify with someone who fought against her shows how lonely her life must have been. Number 7. Nuka, The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. After Scar fell, all the lions who were loyal to him were forced to live in the barren outlands and labeled the Outsiders. Nuka was the son of their leader, Zira. Although he constantly tried to impress his mother, she always saw him as inferior to his brother Kovu.
I should have been the chosen one. I'm the oldest, I'm the strongest, I'm the smartest.
Nuka spent years in a depressing environment, covered in termites and struggling to become a lion that could make his family proud.
Mother, are you watching? I'm doing it for you, and I'm doing it for me.
His desperation eventually drove him to his own destruction while trying to impress his mother Zira. Because of his tragic upbringing, Nuka went to his grave in pain, never knowing if he'd won the approval he craved above all else.
I'm sorry, Mother. I tried.
Number 6. Scar, the Lion King. Before Scar got his trademark facial feature, he was the leader of a noble Pride Lands team known as the Lion Guard. While patrolling one day, a stranger promised to give him more power.
With help from me and my roar, he and I could rule everything. I found his idea intriguing.
But it was all a trap to trick Scar into getting attacked by a cobra. The stranger offered to heal the damage from the bite in exchange for servitude. Scar refused and took the cobra and strange lion down instead. When he told Mufasa this story, he received a cruel nickname instead of praise.
But Mufasa just nicknamed me Scar. Then I knew that he shouldn't be king.
It's later revealed that venom in this world can turn a lion evil. Scar's path of villainy may have sadly started because of the cobra's attack.
Life's not fair, is it?
Number 5. Lady Tremaine, Cinderella. Cinderella's father and Lady Tremaine had both lost a spouse when they got married.
Ella's stepmother, high-spirited lady that she was, set out to restore life and laughter to the house.
Unfortunately, their union didn't stay happy for long. During a party, Lady Tremaine is hurt when she overhears that her husband still carries strong feelings for his deceased wife.
She's at the very heart of this place. And that's why we must cherish this house, always for her.
Before she can fully process this information, Cinderella's father passes away. Lady Tremaine instantly begins worrying about how she'll take care of her children in the wake of this devastating turn. She later reveals that seeing Cinderella every day was a painful reminder of her many losses.
Next time, she married for the sake of her daughters. But that man, too, was taken from her. And she was doomed to look every day upon his beloved child.
While Lady Tremaine definitely should have been kinder to Cinderella, the personal tragedies she suffered help explain why she was so cruel. Number 4. Michael Goob Yagoobian, Meet the Robinsons. When Lewis lived at an orphanage, his constant tinkering on inventions often kept his roommate, avid baseball player Michael Goob Yagoobian, up late.
He was up all night working on his stupid project. But that's what happens when you get a science geek for a roommate.
This proved to be a huge problem when it came time for a Little League championship game.
I fell asleep in the 9th inning, and I missed the winning catch. Then I got beat up.
After this traumatic experience, Goob fell into a spiral of doubt and self-loathing. His negative feelings prevented him from being adopted and led to him growing up alone in an abandoned orphanage. While parts of his backstory are played for laughs, his origins are truly heartbreaking.
Heed my words, Goob. Don't let it go.
Goob's inability to move on prevented him from finding a family. Number 3. Professor Callahan, also known as Yokai, Big Hero 6. A pilot named Abigail Callahan once volunteered to travel through a transportation portal that was funded by a businessman named Alistair Cray.
Ready to go for a ride, Abigail?
We've invited all these people. Might as well give them a show.
Her father, Professor Callahan, was there to see her break new ground. While Abigail was traveling through the portal, though, the experiment went wrong. Professor Callahan was helpless, only able to watch as she was seemingly lost forever.
You did this! You knew it wasn't ready!
This incident enraged him, and he spent years planning revenge against Cray. Blinded by his vendetta, he became the villain Yokai, and eventually caused the demise of his pupil Tadashi.
Just let him die.
Give me the mask, hero.
He went in there to save you!
That was his mistake!
Although he saw his daughter alive again, he was so ashamed of what he'd done in her name that he could barely look at her. Number 2. Te Kā, Moana. Long ago, a goddess named Te Fiti rose from the ocean to work a miracle.
Her heart held the greatest power ever known. It could create life itself. And Te Fiti shared it with the world.
But her heart was stolen by a misguided Maui. This event caused the gracious Te Fiti to transform into the fearsome demon known as Te Kā. To make matters worse, humanity thought Te Kā was nothing more than a vicious beast.
Chasing away our fish, draining the life from island after island, until every one of us is devoured by the bloodthirsty jaws of inescapable death!
She spent an unknown number of years desperate to get her heart back. As she searched in vain, the islands around her struggled to maintain the life she gave. Fortunately, her sad tale had a happy ending.
This is not who you are. You know who you are.
With Moana's brave act, Te Fiti was restored to her true self, and the islands were able to flourish again. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Maleficent. Maleficent. While Maleficent was a young fairy in the magical lands of the Moors, she met a human boy named Stefan. The two became friends, and eventually developed even deeper feelings.
He told her it was true love's kiss. But it was not to be.
Years later, Stefan returned at the command of the king. Maleficent was initially glad to have him return to her.
And she forgave Stefan, his folly and his ambition. And all was as it had been long ago.
However, after he gave her a sleeping potion, Stefan committed a terrible crime. Maleficent woke the next day to find that he had removed her wings, causing severe physical and emotional pain. Being betrayed by someone she loved in such a harsh way caused Maleficent to stop trusting humans, close herself off, and embrace villainy.
Maleficent, please don't do this. I'm begging you.
I like you begging. Do it again.
It took her over a decade to overcome her tragic origins. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.